Welcome to Conditioning for Dancers Level 5 and 6. These preparatory exercises are designed to take approximately 15 to 20 minutes. These exercises build on lessons learned in the previous levels of conditioning, adding repetitions and variations to really challenge and advance core strength and stabilization, as well as demand greater control over spine articulation. Let's begin with the single bent leg stretch series. The preparatory version of this exercise was introduced in the previous level. Now we will have dancers add in an upper abdominal curl-up. Dancers will begin in the hook lying position. Lift knees to 90-90 tabletop position, one leg at a time. Initially, they should keep their head, neck, and shoulders on the floor and maintain neutral spine. They should place their right hand on the inside of the left knee and then the left hand on the outside of the left calf or ankle. Dancers will then hug the left knee to their chest while extending the right leg out approximately 1 foot off the floor. And then, upon exhale, dancers will roll their head, neck, and shoulders off the floor to imprint the low back into the mat. Dancers should alternate knees to chest, smoothly switching leg and hand positions while inhaling for 2 repetitions and exhaling for 2 repetitions. They will perform 2 sets of 10 reps, watching for rib flare, loss of low back imprint, or loss of pelvic stability that will be seen in the dancer's body rocking from side to side. Remember that you can have dancers raise their leg height towards the ceiling to help facilitate neutral spine, or you may choose to slow the tempo down or ask your dancers to rest and reset between sets in order to obtain neutral spine. The next exercise that also challenges the abdominal muscles is crisscross. Dancers will begin in the hook lying position and then lift knees to 90-90 tabletop, one leg at a time, while maintaining neutral spine. They will then lace their fingertips behind their head and neck, and while exhaling, roll their head, neck, and shoulders up and imprint their low back into the mat. They should stretch their right leg out on a 45-degree angle and roll the right armpit towards the left knee. Inhale to prepare, and while exhaling, dancers will switch to the opposite knee to chest and opposite armpit to knee. Dancers should perform 2 sets of 10 reps, making sure that their belly button stays pulled towards their spine throughout all reps. Watch for rib flare, excessive pulling on the head that may lead to neck or shoulder strain, or loss of pelvic stability, seen in arching of the low back or rocking of the pelvis from side to side. Also watch for a loss of fluidity in the exercise, as the transition between sides should be smooth. Dancers should raise their leg height towards the ceiling if they're having difficulty maintaining neutral spine, and you may also choose to slow the tempo, or have dancers lower their head, neck, and shoulders if the strain in their neck becomes too much. Moving on to an advanced form of bridges, we will introduce single leg marches. Dancers will lie on their back with their knees bent and their feet resting on the floor. They should pull their belly button towards the spine, inhale in place, and then exhale and lift the hips while articulating through the spine. At the top of the bridge, dancers will add a march of each leg into a 90-90 tabletop position. You may also include straightening the working leg so that it is parallel to the supporting thigh at the top of the bridge, which is the variation that is shown here in this video. Dancers should perform 2 alternating march repetitions before inhaling in place at the top of the bridge and then exhaling to return to the starting position while articulating through each vertebrae of the spine. Overall, dancers should complete 10 repetitions of the bridge march series, watching out for rib flares, strain in the neck or shoulders, and loss of parallel position. You may also want to watch the pelvic position and make sure that there is no drop in the pelvis or rotation side to side. If any of these errors are occurring, have your dancers decrease the range of motion of the hip or how high they lift their hips. And you may choose to have the dancers lift their heels only rather than lifting their knee into tabletop position. Moving on to a higher demand for trunk stabilization while strengthening the hip complex, we will do the sideline clamshell series with TheraBand and passe variations. To begin, dancers should tie a light TheraBand snug around their thighs just above their knees. They should lie on their side with their knees bent, hips stacked, and abdominal muscles drawn in. Keeping their heels touching, the dancers will lift and rotate the top knee towards the ceiling without moving the spine or rocking the pelvis forward or back. Limit the range of motion of the top knee so that the hips remain stacked throughout the exercise. Remember, do not prop the head up from the floor with their hands, as that significantly changes the neutral spine position. Dancers will perform one set of 10 repetitions before transitioning to the passe variation. For the second set of 10, dancers will straighten the bottom leg and elevate it 5 to 6 inches off the floor while performing clamshells with the top leg. They must maintain neutral spine and pelvic stability. There are a total of 2 sets performed on each side, consisting of 10 reps of each variation. The simple variation, followed by the passe variation. Watch for loss of neutral spine in sideline position and loss of pelvic stability. If these errors occur, have your dancers decrease their range of motion, or, if necessary, have them lie up against a wall to help maintain neutral spine and pelvis and stabilization. Next, we add in the hip abduction series. This exercise challenges core stability while strengthening the hip abductors, which translates into a stronger supporting leg. The dancers will lie on their side with their knees bent, hips stacked, and abdominal muscles drawn in. They will then straighten their top leg and turn the knee slightly towards the ceiling. From this home base, dancers will lift their legs towards the ceiling approximately to a 45-degree angle without disrupting neutral spine. Dancers should perform 20 repetitions on each side, making sure that the hips stay stacked and the waistline does not shift. Moving on to the side plank start. By now your dancers should be able to hold a traditional kneeling plank for 30 seconds on each side. We now progress this series with leg variations. Dancers will lie on their side with their bottom knee bent and the top leg extended. They should draw their belly towards their spine while maintaining neutral position and lift the hips off the floor, planking from forearm to the bottom knee. They should keep their elbows directly under their shoulders. Dancers should hold the first position for 30 seconds and then lift the top leg until it is parallel to the floor. Stage 2 should also be held for 30 seconds, if possible. Please note that the height of the leg is not the important part of this exercise, but rather keeping the pelvis stable and the spine neutral is the focus. If necessary, have the dancers keep the top leg on the floor or decrease the amount of time held in each position if maintaining neutral spine is too difficult. At this level, your dancer should be familiar with the prone dart series and the hip extension series. In level 5-6, we combine these 2 exercises into the prone dart with hip extension. Dancers will lie on their stomach with their legs straight and arms down by their side, with the palms facing the floor. They should draw their belly towards their spine, engage their glutes, and elongate their low back. They will inhale and lift their arms 1 inch from the floor, extending the sternum forward, up, and away from the floor without sinking into their lower back or allowing their shoulders to drift towards their ears. At the same time, dancers should attempt to lift one leg at a time, keeping their knees straight and the abdominals supported. Dancers should inhale on the way up and exhale as they return to the starting position. This is a very difficult exercise to perform correctly, and dancers need only to do 2 sets of 4 alternating repetitions with a small rest or reset opportunity in between sets. Watch out for a drop in the waistline to the floor, which indicates a loss of length of the spine and loss of abdominal support. The simplest modification for this exercise is to limit the height of the sternum or the leg lifts. One can also do fewer reps, eliminate the legs, or alternate between the sternum lift and the hip extension. Moving on to the foot and ankle. It is very important that the midfoot of a dancer's foot is not only strong, but also supple. The doming exercise in the previous level strengthens the midfoot. In this level, the ugly point exercise works on foot mobility. Have your dancers sit tall with the instep of one foot held in both hands. Start by curling the toes, then trying to follow with a strong point from the arch of the foot forward. Then pull the arch back and release the toes. In this video, the dancer is just working on the toe portion of the exercise, but your dancers should add in an attempt to point the foot from the arch without moving the ankle. In other words, do not allow the movement to progress beyond your stabilizing hands at the instep. Dancers should perform 2 sets of 8 on each foot. The biggest precaution here is that you can get cramping in your arch. If that occurs, let your dancers shake their foot out and/or stretch their arch, and then begin again. And finally, we end with the toe dance, working the big toe against the 4 lesser toes. Dancers will sit tall on the floor with their legs stretched out in front and in parallel. Try not to wing or sickle the ankles. Dancers certainly may use their hands on the floor to help maintain a tall and upright position. They will softly point their feet and then flex just the big toe, followed by the 4 lesser toes. Then they will point the big toe, again followed by the 4 lesser toes. Initiate the first 8 repetitions with the big toe, and initiate the second set of 8 repetitions with the lesser toes. Certainly dancers may use their hands or fingers as needed to assist with the articulation. This ends the Level 5-6 conditioning series. Thank you.